Now, if we come back all the way at the top, then you can see that we're doing a little bit of processing because we've moved most of our heavy lifting over here to this functions file, which is where we're going to operate most. Now, what we're doing here is we're requiring that functions file. We're just instantiating some variables that we'll use. This is essentially just to get rid of any notices. So we're going to be doing some different checks down here on some variables. And if we don't set them here, then you'll get some PHP notices that variable doesn't exist, etc. This just helps get rid of those notices. So we're setting our errors to array, and we're setting our sent variable to false. So we'll use those a little bit later here. Then the next thing that we're doing is we're checking to see if whether post is empty or not. If it's empty, then that means the form, most likely, majority 99.999% of the cases, the form has not been submitted, because otherwise the post wouldn't be empty. Now, if someone tries to do some sort of external submission, then but we don't really care about that. So again, we're just checking to see if it's empty or not. If it's not empty, so that means there's some sort of data in the array, then we're going to try and process it. So the main thing here is we're sending all of the post data to this function process form, which is up here in functions. This is kind of the big function, or if you're thinking in an MVC mindset, this would be like the controller function. So this is the one that does all the heavy lifting and uses some other functions, some helper functions to get the job done. So that's primarily what we're going to be going through. But we run that, we send the data there and get a return from it. Now that I'll show you the different returns that are available, but essentially what we're going to get back a status and a message or a set of errors. Okay, so we need to just do a little bit of checking for that so we can populate this area down here. See, it's checking for errors or it's checking for sent. That's what our if statement is here is doing. So basically, if you're getting errors, it's going to show the errors. If everything went through and sent gets set to true, which you see right here, then we're going to process our message that says your message was sent. We'll be in touch. Okay, so that's what this does. We check to see if this process message element, so this is an array that gets sent back. We're checking to see if that exists. If it does, then we know that there was an error, because that's the only way that there would be anything in that message. There'd be a value in that message element, is that there was an error. So we're going to set the value of that process message. We're going to set that to errors here, and that's going to help us display our errors. Then we're going to check and see if it's set to, if there's something called process errors that exists. Now, the difference between these two is what I mentioned earlier. Here, if the email address is invalid or the math is wrong, then we're just sending back this message that says it's wrong. Whereas if it's one of these fields being empty, we're actually capturing all those into an errors array here and sending those back so we can display them all. So that's the difference between these two. This is one of the checks where we're just sending back a blanket message. This is one of the checks where we're sending back an actual array of different errors that we can display them all. So you're going to get one or the other back, but both are displayed the same way. So we set this to errors here, and we set it to errors here, so that we can then down here use it, and it ends up the ultimate output ends up being exactly the same. When we get to the functions file, that'll make a little bit more sense. But if there's no errors, so if we don't have any errors, then we're going to just set sent to true, so that then down here we can say, if this is set to true, then we can display our success message. Okay, and we use this stuff in a couple other places we'll show you. All right, so very, very basically, we're sending our data to a processing script. If that script returns with no errors, then we're going to show our success message. If it returns with errors, we're going to display the errors. That's what this is. Hopefully you're enjoying the course up to this point. Now, if you'd like to keep going and finish it off, all my courses are available on Skillshare. And not only will you get access to all of my courses, but over 20,000 others on web design and web development, freelancing, graphic design, online marketing, and more, and it's all for just $10 a month. And as a teacher on Skillshare, I can give you a 2-month free trial. You'll get full access to the entire library of courses, and you can cancel at any time before the trial is up, and you'll never be charged a penny. To learn more and to start your 2-month free trial, head on over to johnmorrisonline.com/Skillshare.